Welcome to another episode of DegoSec Presents. Today I'll be chatting with a young man who served in the US Army and after 12 years decided to make a living as a professional photographer. Otis Toussaint, welcome to DegoSec Presents.
Thank you very much.
Otis, you left DegoSec at the end of Form 2 to go to the USA. How difficult was it to make the transition?
It was kind of difficult. There was the weather factor. I went up in the year was 1995. I went up. That was the year that it had the biggest snowstorm in New York City history, which was about 25, 27 inches of snow at this one big snowstorm that they had. So you had the weather factor, cultural factor. People didn't really understand what I was saying, so my accent was giving me a little bit of issues. But it's something that I overcame. And then school, I excelled in school because school up there wasn't as hard as down here. So, I was able to assimilate myself with other like-minded students, so that made things somewhat easier on that end. And those are the three things I was really focused on, because I really didn't go outside and play around outside, because the kids in them was stupid outside. School, I focused on school, so that was easy. And then weather, I didn't have to worry about all of that. So it was all right.
Do you remember what your goals were in high school?
Which one? Up here or down?
No, in the US.
US. My goals in the US was to excel, to pass and, just get as much scholarships as I possibly can, and to make my family proud, make people that down here proud in Trinidad, and also to really just take in as much as possible that America was providing for free for students, and I think I did quite well doing that.
What was your motivation?
My motivation really was, first it was my mother's house. If you know a West Indian mother, they will give you a hard time, pushing you. And so I wanted to get out of my mother's house to work. So I knew I had to work real hard to get to that point. And so I did that. What else? In high school, kids were kind of slacking up there. So a motivation of mine was to really show them an example of, if you really put yourself towards your books and everything like that, focus, you can get wherever you're trying to go to. And I think another motivation of mine was, of course, the money that will come as far as scholarships and all that stuff.
You mentioned the scholarships. Were you able to get the scholarships?
Yeah, I got a chance to actually get several scholarships. There was a scholarship I got to a private university in Indiana, and I was there for a couple years, but I ended up leaving from that university because culturally that was more of a shock, moving to Indiana versus moving to New York City. New York City, I had family, I had places that I was familiar with, people that looked like me, who I could relate to. Indiana literally had little to no stuff like that. There was a scholarship group that I was in called Posse, and it was a bunch of different New York City youth that we got a chance to go to this private university called DePaul University, and it was a real good experience out there. I'm still friends with a bunch of students out there, still friends with some of the people that was in Posse with me, and I just had a good time, but socially I wasn't very comfortable at all, so I ended up leaving Indiana and went back to New York City.
Otis, at what point did you join the US Army?
I joined the U.S. Army June the 10th of 2010 or 2011, September, 12. June 10th, 2012. I joined the Army out of Brooklyn, New York, and I joined it mainly for the academic possibilities and opportunities. They said I could go to school. They said I could travel. And another reason why, ironically, is I was home when 9/11 happened. and I got a chance, to see just how crazy it was back in Brooklyn. And I got offended seeing how people could just come and fly planes in our buildings and just take it like that. So literally I wanted to do the patriotic thing and join the United States military while I was up there.
Okay. And you served as a medic?
Yeah, I served as a combat medic initially, and I did that for 3 years. And then I went to school, the Army, this academic thing I talked about before. Army gave me a chance to go to school, and I got a degree in psychology and history. And I came back in as a medical operations officer in the United States Army.
Why the medic and not something that one might think a little bit more combative?
Combative? You mean like infantryman and stuff like that? And those are very lofty positions. Those are very good positions, but there's this thing in the Army. If you score high on a certain score, ASVAB score, that's basically telling you what skills you are, you can get assigned to. I got pretty high on my ASVAB score. They said you could be a combat medic, and that is very transferable to when you get out of the service to civilian life. And so I thought about not just life in the service, but when I get out, would I be able to get a job when I get out? And combat medic was the way to go. So that's why I chose that.
Tell us a little bit about your job as a combat medic.
Well, as a combat medic, I got a chance to monitor and track medical records. That's when you're in the garrison, that's when you're back home. I got a chance to do a lot of training with IVs and bleeding training and blunt force trauma and a big slew really of anything that's dealing with medical help. I was basically the first line to medical care for, say for instance you're on the battlefield or whatever, and your partners in a convoy got hurt, and they're going to scream and call for a medic. You're the one who needs to go out there and provide that medical care until you take that guy into another higher tier of care. And so I love that rush. I love that opportunity to just go and take care of somebody, to potentially be the savior of somebody's life on a battlefield. I love that opportunity. So that's why I did it.
Now you served in Iraq. Tell me about that.
I was in Iraq from, that was about a year. 1 year I served over there.
How was that?
It's a bit of a deep question, but Iraq was, there were highs and there were lows. It was scary when I initially went over there. You didn't really know if you're going to come back, but you knew your partner on your left and your right, your front and your back, always had your back on that battlefield. And I definitely gained some lifelong friends from that combat experience. Lifelong friends. No matter where I go in the world, if they ever need any help, I will provide that help to them. As far as operations and all that stuff, you have your daily operations, you have your different things that goes on, and I executed my job to the best of my abilities. And the Army always gave me the opportunity to excel, always gave me an opportunity to, provide care, and they always allowed me to not only become a better medic, but have goals for me when I get out of the service. And for that, I'm forever thankful for that.
You're no longer in duty. What made you decide to leave?
Well, it wasn't necessarily my decision. I unfortunately had to medically retire in the military. Body and mind mash up, not mash up totally, but not as strong as necessarily it's needed to be a service in the Army, so I had to medically retire, unfortunately.
And now you're a professional photographer.
Mm-hmm.
How did you train for that?
Well, let's see. Back in high school in Brooklyn, I was part of this great organization called Global Kids. And they gave me an opportunity to travel overseas. They got me an opportunity to do workshops and stuff in New York. And I was part of this video project called GAP. And I did a lot of videography initially. And so, you know, the love of videography just kind of transferred into photography. When I was in the service now and I got a chance to travel, of course, you tend to develop your eye in, you know, finding those shots that really document really what you went through. And, you know, going to Iraq, getting a chance to do those different things, take photos and stuff, I basically kept shooting, kept learning, kept perfecting my technique, and I ended up coming home, I ended up doing more photography, got good at it. I got my paid job doing it, and while I was in the military, and a year before I got out, I went ahead and purchased some good equipment, because I said, this is something that I could do once I get out. And I did that, and it kind of just worked out.
So Otis, as you travel across the states doing your photography, interacting with different people, what are some of the training values that you take with you that you think make you different from, say, another photographer from the States?
Yeah, some of the values, training values, you know, that I definitely take with me is I'm kind of a maniac when it comes to learning and overachieving. So say for instance, something I don't know, like say for instance I didn't know about a certain thing in photography or whatever, I will dedicate the next week or so that I'm able to, you know every single thing about whatever it is. So I'm able to teach someone else how to do something. And that's something that I definitely picked up from here at Eagle Set. You know, when I was here, they strive about becoming as good a student as you possibly can. And I definitely apply that into how I live my life right now, in whatever venture I go into, photography, videography, whatever. I want to be the best, so I study and I bust my tail to get to that point. And that's definitely a value that I use as a photographer. I think also I use my accent sometimes. I use my accent to separate myself from the competition, because everyone looks the same up there. But there really isn't that many tall, black, West Indian photographers in my business where I live right now in Clarksville, Tennessee. So I use that to my advantage. Some people may see it as a disadvantage. No, that's my advantage. I think those are the main things that I really use.
Otis, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
Hopefully not doing photography, ironically. You know, as a military vet, I'm allowed to get the upper hand on a lot of jobs that are being provided right now for veterans up in the US. And I want to take advantage of that. And you know, there's an opportunity to work as a military civilian, a more comfortable position. And you know, I may do photography once in a while here and there, but I actually prefer an office space, sitting down, working, a continuous, reliable income, versus photography, which is very hit and miss. I mean, I may be very successful, well not very, but I'm successful what I'm doing right now, but you know, I like more reliability, and an office job may provide that. I may do photography on the side.
But thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. All right then, take care.
Thank you.